Steve and Olivia, first scene. We hear an old jazz standard like Sinatra's Autumn in New York. Credits begin to roll. Fade in. Exterior, New York City graveyard, late summer day, late afternoon. As a casket is lowered into the ground, it reveals Steve Diamond, 45, trim and well-groomed, wearing a black armband and a black suit. He is watching the casket, but looks up when approached by another man who shakes Steve's hand. The man gives Steve an old, faded manila folder and motions Steve to open it. Steve looks through the folder with rising incredulity and then asks a question, to which the other man nods and smiles grimly. Steve looks back at the casket angrily, turns on his heel, and walks away from the funeral. Cut to interior Symphony Hall, Birmingham, England, evening. We are in the last throes of a raucous concert. The orchestra is in furious motion, bows racing back and forth, cheeks are red, the timpani drums are vibrating. In the front, conducting with full vigor and almost bursting out of his tuxedo, is Sir Simon Lockwood, the conductor of the Birmingham Symphony. He is 50 and has the shiniest shoes in the orchestra. Simon is a madman, whirling and thrusting, totally lost in the music. As the piece ends in triumphant crescendo, Simon turns and bows deeply to the wildly applauding crowd who are getting to their feet in ovation. Cut to interior grammar school music room, day. Sitting at the piano, playing rapidly and obviously flawlessly, is Judith Lockwood, 17, very English rose, with dark hair and eyes. She is concentrating fiercely. We see that the piece is a complex Chopin piano concerto. Into the room bursts Kelly James, 17, a black British girl. She runs over to Judith, waving an envelope with Juilliard College in New York, and hands it to Judith. Judith opens the letter and scans it laconically, then hands it to Kelly, who reads it and screams happily and hugs Judith, who is embarrassed. Kelly grabs the letter and runs back into the hallway, shouting while Judith shakes her head. Judith closes the Chopin and looks around. Seeing no one else, she takes out the music for Superstition and begins playing it. Cut to interior Symphony Hall, Birmingham, England, evening. Simon stands at the rostrum taking bows. He is handed a bouquet of flowers. He turns to the oboe section and indicates for the first oboe player, his wife, Olivia Lockwood, 45, to join him. One of the trumpet players, Darren, 40, stares at Olivia with undisguised longing as she walks up. Darren catches himself and shakes his head. Olivia joins Simon. They hug briefly and formally. Simon presents her to the crowd and then turns back to the oboe section and beckons for the second oboe player to join them as well. Olivia is stunned. Darren sets his jaw and frowns in anger. The second oboe player is Nanette, 25, slim and stylish. She arrives and Simon turns to her, kisses her on the lips, and hands her the flowers. Olivia is horrified with embarrassment and smiles glassily out into the crowd. Cut to exterior Steve's apartment building, evening. A black limousine pulls up and a tired-looking Steve emerges and walks past the doorman into an extremely upscale apartment building. He is still carrying the manila folder. Pan up the building to the penthouse. It is a huge apartment with floor-to-ceiling glass. There are lights flashing as if a party is going on. End credits. End music jarringly mid-song. Cut to interior, a very small whitewashed bedroom, night. In the only clear space in the bedroom, there is a single, very expensive leather wing chair. Draped haphazardly over this is a very well-cut black suit jacket. There is a program from a funeral on the chair for Leonard Diamond, 1943 to 2017. There is a double bed with a very expensive iron frame. The sheets are lavender and luxurious. There is a single pillow on one side of the bed. Steve lies on the bed staring at the ceiling. The manila folder lies open next to him, full of yellowed, handwritten pages. The other half of the bed is undisturbed apart from an iPad open to a page of the Daily News with a headline, Diamond in the Rough, and a picture of Steve, unshaven and bleary-eyed, eating a supermarket coffee cake directly from the box. Gradually, sound enters the scene. It is a low, insistent beat, dance music. Happy dance music. As it penetrates Steve's brain, he grimaces and looks at the clock on the iPad. It reads 2:36 a.m. The music increases in volume. Then laughter begins from about 10 people, men and women, then from 20 people. There is a loud crash of breaking glass. The music stops. The laughter stops momentarily and then redoubles in intensity. Steve sits up abruptly with a murderous look on his face. He crosses to the door and flings it open. Cut to interior Steve's penthouse, living room, night. The scene is chaotic. The penthouse is enormous and sumptuously furnished. The main window looks out over the Manhattan skyline. There is expensive furniture, original art on the walls, and on a shelf near the fireplace stand 13 Tony Awards. There is a space for a 14th, which has obviously been removed. The group of partygoers are standing around a smashed glass and wrought iron table, through which has been dropped the missing Tony. As Steve bursts into the room, from what was obviously once a walk-in closet, and surveys the scene, he is almost wildly enraged. All of the partygoers look at the floor in embarrassment, except for one man, a slim 40-year-old with an impeccably tailored green vest and matching glasses. This is Jonathan. He looks at Steve with total disdain.
Relax, Stephen. It's only the one from Rain Dancer.
Steve closes his eyes, takes a breath, and then opens them again. His face is now totally composed.
Thank you, everyone, for celebrating the death of my father without me in my own living room. But now I'd like everyone to leave.
No one moves.
I said leave. All of you. Now. Fuck off! Go!
Everyone begins shuffling for the door. Jonathan mutters apologies to the guests as they file out. When they are gone, Jonathan turns to Steve and snarls at him.
How dare you?
Steve is staggered.
How dare I?
Yes! This is my home. I can invite whomever I please, whenever I please, regardless of your circumstances.
Your home. You're the one desperate to sell it.
I'm only thinking of you. You need the money to give me half.
Over my dead body.
Honestly, Steve, haven't you been around enough of those already for one day?
I always knew you could be cruel, Jonathan, but I never pegged you to be as a total asshole.
Then pay up. Settle the divorce. Give me my money and never bother me again. I've paid my dues here.
Are you fucking kidding me? Paid your dues? 20 years you've been attached to me like a leech.
Don't romanticize it, Steve. We both know without me you're nothing. You'd still be writing jingles and yonkers for NPR.
That's so. What about you? Every lyric a cliche, every feeling fake and obvious? Just like our relationship. If anything, you have clipped the wings of my genius.
Oh, honey. That's one dead bird. You haven't crafted a tune worth anything in a decade. All this...
Jonathan sweeps his hand, taking in the awards.
...is nothing more than you riding a reputation based on my work. Look how your great comeback show fared. What did the Times say? Lost, foreign, hopeless, and pathetic?
They did not say pathetic. They said misguided.
Isn't it funny, though? My big idea, Bleached Roots, and when you cut me right out before opening, it bursts into flames and crashes. The only time it's ever happened to the great Steve Diamond, isn't it?
Steve is halfway between apoplectic and terrified.
In fact, it was so pathetic, you might even think someone had planned it that way. Maybe to prove the real talent was for all those years.
Steve, shaken, takes a step back.
You.
Jonathan gets right in Steve's face.
Maybe pathetic is all that I see.
Jonathan takes a step back.
Soon you'll be all alone and miserable, and I'll be rich and happy. Works well, for me at least.
Steve stays hard and with cold fury recomposes himself again.
So, marrying and divorcing me in 48 hours was what? All just to get on the deed to sell and run?
Jonathan smiles cruelly.
You bastard. You aren't getting another damn penny.
Then I will continue to contest the settlement, and I will do whomever I want. Alejandro, darling.
He's here?
A young, tan, beautiful Hispanic man puts his head around the door before gliding into the room. He is ripped. He walks over and drapes himself on Jonathan.
Hey.
Get your bag.
Alejandro grabs an unbelievably ugly knockoff Gucci man bag.
We're going. Some people are just so miserable they have to spread it around. They can't stand to see anyone happy.
Steve's shoulders sag.